Morning everyone out there. Hope you're all staying safe. Hope everybody's staying home, self-isolating, social distancing. Today I want to talk briefly about climate change and some of the effects of climate change that are happening during the 2020 pandemic. This will be the first of many videos. First I want to talk about the massive changes in greenhouse gases due to the lack of cars, transportation in general, manufacturing industries being, shut down and whatnot. First of all, California, Bay Area, air quality is improved by about 30 to 40%. China, air quality is improved by about 15 to 30%. Italy, air quality is improved by about 20 to 25%. Asia, in general, air quality is improved by about 30%. Russia, it has improved by 15%. Europe, different countries, different scenarios, but Germany is improved by about 10 to 15%. France is improved by about 20 to 25%. You get what I'm saying. All across the board, because everything has been shut down. Transportation, planes, trains, automobiles, everything. Boats, okay? We are now not burning as much fossil fuels and emitting, pollutants into the air, which by that we are getting better air quality all over the world, as well as we are slowing down the melting and spread of the greenhouse gases and emissions that kill the ice caps and the glaciers and whatnot that we need to keep us self-sustained as a human race. Video conferencing is going up like crazy. Businesses are learning and figuring out that maybe they don't have to have their employees driving into work all the time. Is this something that's going to go on after the pandemic? Could this put a bigger hold and a bigger halt to fossil fuel industry for cars and buses and things like that? So now, obviously, by having these lower emissions and lower percentages across the board, people are, you're not going to see as many air polluted related deaths or air polluted related people getting sick, going to the hospital, things like that, which is a good thing. People who live in highly industrial areas with lots of carbon emissions are more likely to contract a virus. COVID-19, SARS, influenza, common cold. Now, what you have to look at is that this can and it'll eventually give individuals a respiratory shock. And the reason for that is that, so now, if you're used to living in an industrialized area, smog air, pollutants everywhere, and your body's used to that, okay? You kind of build an immune system to that, you kind of build a stronghold to that within your respiratory system, and then now all of a sudden, air quality just gets better. Air quality is great, you're breathing better, you're walking better, you're doing things better, and this goes on for, let's say, it's been going on for 3 months now. Let's say it goes on for another 6 months to a year. Look at how well that air quality is going to go back to in your industrialized area. But then, after the pandemic, what happens? Okay? Businesses, these industries, they start opening back up. Buses start running again. Planes start running again. And not only do they start running again, but you take these industries, and now these industries are going to start ramping up production. They got to catch up on revenue that they lost for the amount of time that they were down. So now, instead of producing 4,000 units of whatever it is a day, they're producing 20,000 units of whatever a day. And how can they do this when there's supposed to be regulations by the EPA and our federal government? That's because the EPA and our federal government has cut regulations on fossil fuel burning. So when this pandemic ends, these industries are going to be able to ramp up production and then in turn overly pollute our air worse than what they were doing before. Now, take those citizens that I was talking about with the respiratory problems, okay? They're going to get a respiratory system shock. They're going to go from breathing in smog, air polluted, polluted air all their life to fresh air, and then boom, back to polluted air. But not only are they going to go back to polluted air, they're going to go back to polluted air that is even more condensed and even more polluted than before because of the lack of regulations that have been cut and imposed by the EPA through the Trump administration. Yeah. Oil prices right now have dropped considerably, and they will keep dropping because the fossil fuel industry wants us to use fossil fuels. So instead of gas being $3 or $4 a gallon right now, gas will go down to, like, let's say $1, $2, and you're going to run to the pump and start filling up like crazy. And the fossil fuel industry is going to love you for that. And you're going to go drive your car and fill it up again and drive, fill up, and everybody's going to start driving all over the place. And people are going to drive so much that this smog is just going to come right back, mixed in with the industry smog, and just airplanes. You got your cruise liners are going to go back to work, but burning all that diesel fuel. It's just going to go on and on. And no one is seeing what's happening to the climate regulations. You're not seeing it on the news. You got to research this. You have to research this because everybody is worried about the COVID-19 pandemic. Everybody. I am too. I'm checking on statistics. I'm checking on how many people died yesterday in New York. I'm checking on how many people have died in my area. I'm checking on that like crazy, okay? But at the same time, I'm trying to think outside the box and think to myself, what all is being affected globally, economically, nationally, at home, locally, here in my own home? What is going on everywhere with every aspect of what COVID-19 is bringing to us? And when you watch the mainstream media, you watch your CNN, you watch your MSNBC, you watch Fox, you watch the majority of all these mainstream news media organizations, and a lot of times they come out with great information, they come out with great editorials, but for lately, they've been beating a dead horse, been talking about the past, about who knew what, and they're not talking about what's really happening behind the scenes, where everybody, citizens, governors, mayors, everybody is worried about the pandemic, COVID-19. How do we mitigate? How do we stop the spread? Find a vaccine, find an antibiotic, antibody testing in general. I love it all, okay? But then you have an administration that is worrying about cutting EPA regulations and helping out the fossil fuel industry and continuing, if you would go back to read or watch my military and COVID-19 video, you will see that the U.S. military is still currently waging war in Iraq, waging war in Afghanistan with bombings. And that right there is burning fossil fuels. More fossil fuels and more fossil fuels. So it's a shame. And now you have COVID-19 and climate change happen at the same time. All the focus is on COVID-19. Like I said, with the governors, the mayors, the citizens. But the federal government and the Trump administration has their eye on a couple of other things. And you can't do that when there's parallels to be brought between the two. COVID-19 and climate change have multiple parallels that cannot be ignored and need to be addressed. One of those parallels is that they are both global. You can see them coming. You can see COVID-19 coming with adequate testing. You can see climate change coming. We've been watching climate change come for decades now. Another parallel is that they both demand early and aggressive action, which is something that has not been taken with COVID-19. Now, the mainstream news media is playing the blame game. Who knew what first? Who acted first? Why didn't they act? Who should have acted first and who didn't? Who cares? Let's worry about what's happening right now and what our future is going to look like. Um, you know, we have been trying to take early aggressive action on climate change for decades now, and it's kind of leading us almost nowhere. We're still in the same rut. We're still in the same boat, and that boat is just getting more and more water around it as the ice caps melt all over the Arctic. Uh, Both cannot be taken as a joke or a hoax. People for years now would say climate change is a hoax, climate change is a joke, it's not something that really happens. Really? You tell the people down in Louisiana that lost their homes in their town because the whole entire little peninsula island thing got covered in water because of climate change. What's going to happen is all the land is going to start going, and all as humans, we're just going to move into a little commune, and it's just going to be water all around us. It's going to be like Noah and the ark, but on a slow version. Not going to be a big wave. Another parallel is that they both, COVID-19 and climate change, both have proper information on how to mitigate and spread the effects. We have been putting into place and talking about mitigation and how to curb the effects of climate change and over at least 2 to 3 decades now. And it's a slow process. It doesn't seem like it's working all that great. And I could say the same thing about what's happening with COVID-19. They both have proper information. Don't wash hands. Do wash your hands. I'm sorry. Wash your hands frequently. Don't let the kids touch grandma. Stay 6 feet away. Social distancing. Self-isolation. All these things, okay? But do we take that? Do we take those steps? Do we take those risks? There's so many people out there that are just doing whatever they want in stores and not worrying about mitigation and things like that. And here is a little twist with not exactly COVID-19, but viruses in general and climate change. So scientists in 1992 and in 2015 went to polar ice caps, and they worked on bringing back ice core samples dating back thousands of years. And they were to be tested. They got sterilized, and they melted the ice a little bit. They sterilized it in some sterile water, and they put under the microscope, and found unknown viruses within the ice. Okay? And then when tested it, so they had 2 ice cap samples. Like I said, one was taken in 92, one was taken in 2015. After sterilization from the modern contaminants, scientists found 33 kinds of viruses detected within these 2 pieces of ice. Now, after testing these 33 different types of viruses, 28 of those viruses were unknown to humans and to these scientists, which shows that if we continue on burning our fossil fuels at a great rate and these polar ice caps keep melting, what's going to happen is if you have an ice cap and it's going to melt and there's a virus inside of there, and that ice melts, it now exposes that virus. And what is a virus? Okay? Whether it's SARS, whether it's SARS-CoV-2, COVID-19, MERS, Ebola, influenza, what is a virus? A virus is a genetic makeup, sort of like a computer data program. Okay? And on that virus, it has protein membranes. And those protein membranes, they want to get onto and attach to a healthy living cell host, a human, okay? And then they want to reproduce their genetic makeup inside the human body, which then that will take over and kill you. It's a virus, and you will spread it to other people. That's what it wants to do. It wants to infect you and then get out of you and get into another fresh host, okay? So, if there are 28 unknown viruses in these ice caps, these polar ice caps, and the polar ice caps keep melting away, we are going to expose viruses that we have never seen before in our lives. We would not know how to combat it. We would not know how to mitigate from it. We would have to let it run its course and then try to find out mitigation purposes, try to find out antibiotics, vaccines. Does this sound similar to anybody right now? Letting it run its course, letting it go global, and then trying to find out a way to stop it? Kind of reminds me of something that might possibly be happening in real time. So, and like I just said, with that, there are many, possibly, scientists say possibly hundreds to thousands, many more viruses in the polar ice caps waiting to be freed, waiting to from the melting ice to come and be exposed and put itself out there to infect us again. And that's what's going to wind up happening. Viruses are fast evolving. When they do come out of the ice like that, we as humans, on a humanitarian level, have a 50-50 chance of contracting it. Not like 80-20 and the 80's in your favor. No, it's a 50-50 chance. The first human that virus can infect, it will, and then that human will keep infecting people, not knowing what they have, thinking possibly they have a cold, unless it's something that is a lot more severe, like something like MERS or Ebola or something of that nature. So, yeah, I mean, that's climate change. Climate change and COVID-19. What are we doing about it? What can we do about it? What is going to happen when all these industrialized nations open back up and they have all their manufacturing going back full force, maybe even ramped up more than it was last time? What's going to happen? Where are our respiratory systems going to fall into play? Where are we going to, when and where are we going to say to ourselves, hey, we need to really worry about what we're doing on a global spectrum with the burning and the usage of fossil fuels? Because we, in turn, are just killing ourselves. And I don't know about you, but I have two beautiful 7-year-old daughters that I want to see them live a long, fruitful life. I don't want them scrambling around in some apocalypse 30 years from now after I'm dead and gone. An apocalypse because everybody's rushing around looking for food when when our earth is covered in water, and we don't know what to do because we didn't prepare. Well, here I am to tell you people, prepare. Prepare. Stop littering. Stop driving your car everywhere. Let's get back to some normalcy. Some normalcy where we actually care about where we live. You care about your home, right? You're not going to let a flood come into your house. You got flood insurance, don't you? You're not going to let some flood take over your whole yard, are you? Well, that's what's going to happen if we don't do something about this climate issue, because your home is your country. Your home is your land. And if, I tell you right now, I may be in New Mexico, but my home is still California, Florida, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Louisiana. I am United States. I am born on this land, and every inch of this land I care about, and every individual that roams this land I care about, whether it be in the U.S. or globally. We are humans, and we need to stick together. I've always said humanity is the biggest cancer ever to be seen, and it can be. It definitely can be, but on a lighter note, humanity has a greater resolve and a greater strength than anything other than God. Thank you very much for watching today. Anybody wants to donate anything to help out our healthcare workers on the front lines in New York and other hotspots like Philadelphia, Chicago, San Francisco, Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, just any hotspots that are popping up, go to redcross.org and make a donation. They are helping to donate PPE and food and things like that for healthcare workers working on the front lines, being heroes, doing what they need to do, and we need to help them. We need to make sure that they have help, and make sure that they have everything that they need. Huge shout out to redcross.org. You guys are doing a great job. So once again, if you want to donate anything to help out these incredible heroes on the front lines during this 2020 pandemic, redcross.org. Please check it out. And if you like this video, please help share it, subscribe, leave some comments, questions. I want to hear from people. What are your thoughts about climate change now and in the future, during and after the 2020 pandemic? Have a good day, everyone. Talk to you later.